Well, a buddy of mine swung by the other day and he dropped off a tool that he thought I would like to play with. So this isn't mine, but I'm just borrowing it from somebody. But I thought it was cool enough that I would share what it is in case it's something that somebody might find useful. Now, I've compared other comparators, such as the Wilson one, which uses their case gauges and then uses like a little dial system on the top to measure the difference in shoulder bump and stuff like that. And, it's worked well, but I understand some of the criticisms people have had in that it's a little hard to read and you have to be really, focused on kind of the feel of it as much as I want to say. And then Widden does a very similar one in the same fashion. And while they both work fine and I've enjoyed using them both, I have to say this PMA one, I'm a little jealous that my buddy got this because I've been playing with it. So he picked up he's got, what has he got? The 308. So he shoots TR and open. So he's got 308 in this one, which I've got no use for. And then he's got a 284 because he shoots 284 like I do. And so these are machined to, I don't know, whatever. There's a whole host of different cartridges you can choose. And your brass just literally just drops in. And just like a lot of tools, let me preface by saying that anytime, this isn't mine, so I wouldn't manipulate it without talking to my buddy. But anytime I buy tools like this and I have my own reamers, I always run my reamer in these tools so that it better fits my brass. Now, not everybody has a reamer and not everybody does that. But for me personally, whether it's a seating die or something like that, I always want to make it as close to my actual chamber as possible. So in this particular case, my buddy uses the same reamer that I do because he copied my print when he had one made. And so I asked him and he said, yeah, go ahead. So all I did was run my reamer in here and it just took out just a barely thousandths of clearance compared to where it was. But just something I'd point out for people that might have a reamer and buy tools like this. But how does it work? Well, here we go. I've got fired brass and I have sized ready to load brass. And if I was to question whether I bumped the shoulder on this correctly, I would take this little gauge and I would take my fired brass and I would drop it in. Now, you want to make sure, hear how it's nice and loose. That means it's fitting correctly. If it sticks, then your brass is not going to measure correctly, which again is a great reason if you have your reamer to go ahead and open it up so it matches what you have. But in this particular case, now it fits great and you can see it's nice and loose where we're going to get a correct shoulder bump on it. And then all we're going to do is push it up onto the head here. And the way they design this head, I don't want to take it apart because it's not mine, but it's basically a beveled system in here so that it's only putting pressure around the rim and not touching the primer in any way, which again I think is a nice little touch. So we're going to push this in here as far as we can, and it does have a little bit of a bevel so you can hold it, kind of like you would here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this dial moves. I'm going to move it so that the 0 is right here, and I know I've got glare and I apologize. I'm going to put it so the 0 is right on where the dial is. Okay, so there you go. It's right there. Now all I have to do is take a piece of brass. Now this one's been sized with my sizing die that I know works the way I want it to. I'm going to put it in here. Now I'm going to push, and you can see that it came back just about 1/1000ths, which is right where I want my shoulder bump to be. And so that's how it works. Very simple, very effective. I don't think these are horribly expensive. I think when I looked them up, I think you could buy the complete kit for under $100, which, considering it gives you a pretty nice little system here, it's well machined. I mean, I think it's well worth the money. But again, it's not mine. But if I was in need of one, I think at this point, from the different, kind of gauge systems I've used, whether it's Widden or Wilson or this PMA, I have to be honest, I would probably go with the PMA over any of the others, simply because I feel like, having used the others and seen some of the ups and downs of them, I'm not getting any of those ups or downs with this one. It's super repeatable. There's no human error involved. I mean, every time I put this in, it's 1/1000ths. and every time I put this one in, it's going to go back to 0. I mean, it's 0, it's 0, it's 0. And so that's what you want in a comparator, right? Like, you want it to be consistent without human error getting involved. So there you go. Just a little something I thought I'd show you. Hope it helps somebody out there. You guys have a good one. We'll talk later.